welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, for the next 2 weeks, right up until Halloween, on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm gonna have a new set of spooky streaming suggestions for you to check out. We are knee deep in the Halloween season. I know sometimes it can be hard to find the right movie to watch. Let me do the work for you. Some old classics, some new favorites for you, some stuff that you probably haven't seen, and I'm gonna tell you where to find it as well too. But don't forget, throughout the week, I am still dropping countless reviews in the world of horror, including movies, TV shows, books, games, whatever. You don't want to miss any of that, and the best way to stay on top of everything dropping on my channel is to get subscribed to my link tree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my link tree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page of the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for your written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content, including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page for my horror gaming, including Phasmophobia and The Thing Remastered, and to my Fangoria shop page, where you can enjoy my 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop, including a yearly subscription to the Fangoria physical magazine. Take advantage of that, folks. Hit that subscribe button, as the more followers I get, the more content I could put out for all of you. So, again, folks, it is Wednesday night, and I am back here with another set of spooky streaming suggestions for you. Again, we are knee-deep in October right now. Let me take the work off your plate. So let's not waste any time. Let's get started here, folks. We are starting with Shudder, and I'm starting with one of my absolute favorites, folks. This movie is one of my 10 favorite horror films of all time. You're gonna laugh when you hear it as well too. And you know what? I don't care, because everything is subjective, and I'm sure a lot of you have some cheesy horror films out there that are like they're totally shit on by everybody else, but you just love it. Folks, we're talking Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, my absolute favorite of Jason Voorhees and his wacky adventures. I've said for a while, I think honestly Jason got better after he officially died in the franchise, because when he came back, he wasn't held to the constraints of being a real person who was doing all these things that doesn't really make sense, taking a lot of damage that nobody could really walk away from. So I like the idea of Jason returns, and he's got all these powers now. He's not killed as easily. And why not send him to New York? We're sending our horror villains wherever we can to these crazy, kooky places. Why doesn't it make sense that you can't go from literally Camp Crystal Lake in New Jersey and somehow get a cruise ship in there and make your way out to New York City? Come on, you don't have to worry about the logistics of this, but if you haven't seen this one here before, that's exactly what happens. A graduating class of Camp Crystal Lake High is on their way to New York for their senior trip, and guess who stowed away on board? Jason Voorhees. Will these kids be able to survive in the Big Apple with our masked maniac on the loose? Y'all, again, I know a lot of you are thinking, why? Why are we talking Jason Takes Manhattan? But folks, this is one of the first Friday films I got to see in full as a kid, and I remember seeing it late night and being terrified the way that Jason was off and all these not counselors, I guess just teenagers, but again, he has powers in this movie. He's teleporting all around, he's causing hallucinations, and I just thought that was normal for a Friday film. So color me surprised when I go back and find out Jason can't really teleport, and he's just walking really fast after people. I don't know what it is, it works well for me, and plus, we got my man Julius putting up the dukes, shooting the fade with Jason. How many people you know are honestly doing that? I love it. Go and check that one out. My second suggestion is a movie that I got a chance to review earlier this year. I had an interview with Heather Wixson, phenomenal guest on the show here. One of her favorite movies. Folks, this is Vamp, about group of kids who end up going to a strip club down in the rough part of town looking for a good time, only to find out that this strip club is inhabited by vampires. Folks, this is From Dusk Till Dawn and Bordello of Blood before those two things were a thing. And the great thing about it is that the movie actually fits the campy tone that those other two films have as well. It's not as gritty because, you know, From Dusk Till Dawn is a Tarantino film, and so it's got that Tarantino edge to the script, but that movie is still super campy as hell. And if you've seen Bordello of Blood, it's a Tales from the Crypt movie. Need I say more? Vamp seems to fit in very perfectly with that, honestly. Like, the vampires I thought were terrifying. It's actually a little bloodier and gorier than I thought. And I love the idea that they've not only taken over this strip club, but they've actually turned like the entire town and their immediate vicinity of this area into vampires too, to keep themselves safe. That's smart thinking right there. This is a true classic. You have to check this one out here, y'all. Grace Jones, phenomenal in this one, y'all. So go and check out Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, and Vamp over on Shudder right now. Moving on over to Prime Video, my first suggestion for you is going to be Wrong Turn. And we are talking the original one, not the recent remake. Now, Wrong Turn finds itself taking a page from a film like The Hills Have Eyes, where a random group of strangers who are making their way across the country for various reasons ended up getting stranded in the middle of nowhere on a shortcut they were told to take. And they find out after taking this wrong turn that there are a group of inbred mutant cannibals hanging out in the forest looking for unfortunate passerbys to take that wrong turn and to take their lives. Now, this film stars Desmond Harrington, who you might know from Dexter, played Officer Quinn in that, or Detective Quinn, excuse me. It also stars Eliza Dushku, who you might know from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In my opinion, this film is just as effective as The Hills Have Eyes, both the original and the remake, just because these inbred mutant cannibals are terrifying. They have zero mercy, and you know if they catch you, they're going to do horrendous things. And I love in this film that we can actually see that fear across all of these teens. I say teens, they're not teens, they're young adults, honestly. And I say that because honestly, you know, when Wrong Turn came out, we're in a bit of a phase to where when the horror movies are coming out, the characters in there might be a little bit smarter than what they really should be. That's the meta effect of Scream, and therefore they might not be as scared as you typically would expect somebody to be in a situation like this. But Wrong Turn doesn't give us that. These characters know they're in a terrible situation, and they're absolutely terrified about it. Folks, this is great, but the gore is big on this one here. It's gonna leave you feeling a weird way, but weirdly enough, the Wrong Turn franchise is actually one of the stronger modern horror franchises out there. Granted, this is the only one that got a theatrical release to my knowledge, but you will find some gems further on in that franchise. Go and check out the original Wrong Turn right now. My second suggestion for you is going to be Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem. Now, what's interesting about this film is that I think a lot of people look at Rob Zombie's filmography and look to his Halloween remake and its sequel, or to his Three from Hell trilogy with House of 1,000 Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell. But you're leaving out one film that I actually think holds up just as well as his other, whatever you would say are the best ones that he's put out. And this is one that I didn't really get into the first time I saw it, and it took a subsequent watch for me to realize there's actually a little bit more here under the surface than I realized. A radio DJ ends up playing a supposed cursed record that ends up making a call out to the witches that inhabit the town that she lives in. There it is, Lords of Salem. Now, of course, our lead character here is played by Sherry Moon Zombie, who is a constant collaborator with her husband, Rob Zombie. And this role, I think, is actually giving her a little bit more to do than a lot of the other ones that we've seen, only because of the fact that in most of the other roles that she's played in, she's had to play characters who just are psychotic or are getting driven insane. And that's counting Halloween, that's counting, again, the Three from Hell trilogy. And so something was very different about seeing her portrayal of this character in Lords of Salem, being a very grounded individual that's having all this supernatural stuff happening around her, and her trying to honestly figure out, is she going crazy or is it the world that's going crazy around her? It's a disturbing film, and I think movies that embrace witchcraft and don't make it all cheerful and happy and show what you would, I guess, say the dark side of witchcraft really is, are honestly stronger in my book, and Rob Zombie hits the nail on the head here with Lords of Salem. Check this one out along with Wrong Turn on Prime Video right now, folks. Moving over to Peacock, we are talking 1408, another Stephen King classic for you. If you hadn't had a chance to see this one, this focuses on a writer who's looking for his next project and gets directed to a supposed haunted hotel room numbered 1408 that nobody has seemed to survive the night in. Y'all, John Cusack, Samuel L. Jackson, and granted, Samuel L. Jackson doesn't have a huge role in this film. This is really John Cusack's movie, but John Cusack is one of my favorite actors. I think a lot of you, like me, who grew up with him in all these various roles, like Cross Point Blank, Say Anything, or Con Air, it was refreshing to see him take on a role in a horror film, just because he has the demeanor for that, because John Cusack always plays like an everyman kind of guy, but then when things start getting very incredulous, he's that person who's always looking for the skeptical side side of things. And not just in this movie, because that's very much what his character here in 1408 is doing, but that seems to be a common trend that we see in a lot of the other films that he's doing as well too. And I love that everyman grounded approach to John Cusack brings to his roles, because that means when things start getting scary, they're a lot worse in the films that he's doing. I say that because he did another Stephen King story called Cell, which I honestly like, not as good as the book, but it's still worth a check out. But 1408 here, I would honestly recommend checking out the, I believe it's the unrated cut with the alternate ending, just because I think that alternate ending serves much better than the theatrical one that we get, leaves things off in a bit more of a terrifying note for it. But realistically, for PG-13 horror, you can't really go wrong basing yourself off of a Stephen King story. Definitely one that you want to check. There are some good thrills in that one for sure. My second choice for you over here on Peacock is going to be Last Night in Soho, the Edgar Wright written and directed film back in 2021. This was very much a late pandemic watch, so it didn't get the due that it was justified to get in theaters. But honestly, y'all, if you have checked out any of Edgar Wright's horror before, this falls right in line with it. There's a little bit of a supernatural element to it, but in reality, it's a little bit more of a thriller about a young woman who makes her way to London to become a fashion designer and finds out that in the place that she's living, there might have been something horrendous that happened to the previous tenant. Now, there's a lot of mystery in this one, and I guarantee if you haven't seen this one here before, obviously, there's no way that you're really going to see the twist coming on this. This kept me guessing to where this was going to end up turning out, and I was shocked when they pulled back the curtains and revealed what was really going on in this one. A lot of mystery and intrigue in this. Now, there's a couple really good jump scares in it, but the movie itself is just a damn good mystery that is absolutely worth checking out. Folks, you can head over to Peacock right now and check out Last Night in Soho and 1408. Go check it out. Let me know what you think there. Moving on to Netflix. My first suggestion for you is going to be Scream, otherwise known as Scream 5. Now, after taking a number of years off and the passing of the late great Wes Craven, Radio Silence took over the reins of the Scream franchise and took us back to Woodsboro yet again, focusing on a new set of sisters being terrorized by Ghostface. Now, of course, we get the old cast trio of Dewey, of Gail, and Sidney Prescott returning back to Woodsboro as well to help out these new sisters dealing with a murderer. But all is not what it seems in this entry, folks. Honestly, y'all, I know that the Scream franchise is in such a weird place. I haven't talked about it that much at all because I'm trying to just stay away from all that. New film apparently will be here in February 2026, so we'll see you then at that point. But Scream 5 was a really big high note. I was amped for this one. I got to see it a few times in theaters. That cold open is one of the best openings of the franchise. If not, in my opinion, the best one in the franchise, only because it changed things up from what we had seen in the prior 4 films. Can't spoil that one for you, but there's something very, very different about the opening of Scream 5 compared to the other 4. But just everything about it, getting a new, younger cast, but still getting good integration with that older cast as well. R.I.P. to Deputy Riley there. Again, I don't care what folks think about that decision, honestly. Like, we got to evolve, we got to move on. I think it was a great character moment, but there are some good scares in this. Ghostface is more brutal than he's ever been before in this franchise. And while I know a lot of people had issues with the reveal of who's ultimately under the mask, I still feel that even if you didn't like that, everything up to that point was so strong. The movie did a great job of changing the guard up and again moving on to this younger cast while still giving our prior cast members a great chance to shine. Go and check out Screams or Scream 5 right now on Netflix, folks. My second suggestion for you is gonna be the film Cargo. Based on a very, very great short film that came out quite a while back, this focuses on a father traveling through the outback with his infant daughter who has been infected by a zombie plague ravaging the land. He's searching for somebody safe to leave his daughter with before he succumbs to this virus. Folks, zombie films are rarely this heartfelt. They are rarely this emotional. And Martin Freeman, who you all might know from The Office, or you might know from the Hobbit films, or plenty of other things, MCU obviously, does a phenomenal job here in the role of a father who is unwilling to trust anybody else, but is forced to trust somebody when he realizes he just doesn't have that much time to take care of the only person left in his entire world. Now, this is not going to be the zombie film like what you're expecting from anything that's like really fast paced and new age. Again, it's more of a character piece that focuses on what we're willing to do for others when we have to care for somebody else. But y'all, honestly, this is one of the very few zombie movies that actually made me a little emotional there. The way that he was able to watch out for his daughter and some of his new companions really is going to hit you right deep down, honestly. It's a great story. I highly recommend checking out the short film as well, too, so you know what you're getting into. You can check out Cargo and Scream on Netflix right now, folks. Moving on over to Screambox. My first suggestion for you is Chopping Mall. A lot of you have seen this classic here before. If you are looking for schlock 80s horror, Chopping Mall sits up there with the best of them, y'all. A sentient robot goes on a killing spree, focusing on some teens that are stuck in a shopping mall while the robot's creators try to figure out what's going on and stop the slaughter. Y'all, again, I mean, 80s horror is all good horror, especially when it's over the top, and the idea of a killer robot killing everybody in a shopping mall is perfect. Not to mention, just that aesthetic really does take you back. Like, I miss when shopping malls were really a big thing in the world. Like, I still have one nearby me, but it's just not as fun as they were back in the 90s and the early 2000s. So this is gonna give you nostalgia like crazy, while also giving you a lot of crazy ass kills and a decent amount of blood as well. You definitely gotta go and check out Shopping Mall. My second choice here for you is gonna be The Night Eats the World. Now I'm running back into zombie horror here. That's nothing new. This one, if you haven't seen it, also gives us a different perspective to a zombie horror, as it focuses on a young man in Paris who wakes up and finds out that everybody around him is dead and he is seemingly the only survivor in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Now, I have seen a few other films that have done this kind of perspective about, you know, there just being one person or eventually some other people that show up in the middle of the zombie plague going on and getting us a really good strong character piece showing what this person is able to do with their life. Now, The Night Eats the World is not going to reinvent the wheel. It's not going to bring you anything amazing that you haven't seen in zombie media before, but it is still a strong character piece showing how things are like on the other side of the world when the zombie outbreak occurs and you got nobody else by your side. It's a great tale of isolation and of hope as well, too. So head on over to Screambox, y'all, and check out Chopping Mall and The Night Eats the World right now. Finally, over on Tubi, my first suggestion for you is Fright Night, the remake. I always suggest either the original or the remake, but they got the remake here on Tubi right now. Rest in peace to Anton Yelchin, one of the best in a very short and young career. This focuses on youngster Charlie Brewster, whose new neighbor Jerry Dandridge just might be a vampire, and he has to save both his mom, his girlfriend, and his friends before Jerry takes over Las Vegas. It sounds absolutely silly, y'all, but Anton Yelchin, Toni Collette, Colin Farrell, David Tennant, come on, y'all. This is a stacked cast, and it actually is one of the best horror remakes that we have out there. Horror remakes are a dime a dozen. A lot of them end up being really good, but we have just as many that fall by the wayside. And Fright Night is so good that every other day, I find myself going back and forth between which one is the better choice of these two. Do I like the original more? Do I like the remake? And the tone of them are so different that it is absolutely possible to enjoy both at the same time. Like the original film, which was done in the 80s, again, just has everything 80s about it. I just said that about Chopping Mall, but there's so much 80s imbued into the original Fright Night that it's such a blast going back and watching that one. Not to mention, it just has that cloud of 80s terror right over it too. Like when you see the fog coming up, Jerry catching evil Ed, like so much about that is so good. In this remake, we get the modern kind of scares. We get the terrifying jump cuts, more blood, a little bit more violence in this one. It's so good. It is so good, y'all. Go and check out the Fright Night remake right now on Tubi. And my second choice for you is gonna be Coraline. which recently celebrated its 15-year anniversary. This focuses on a young girl named Coraline who, not really satisfied with her home life, finds a door that takes her to a mirror world that closely resembles her own, including her own mirror family. But when she finds out that there's something nefarious about this mirror family, she'll have to do everything she can to escape. Now, one of the reasons I very much recommend Coraline is because if you're a big fan of The Nightmare Before Christmas, doesn't really sit well with me, but you like that filmmaker, Henry Selick, because everybody gives Tim Burton the credit for Nightmare Before Christmas. Henry Selick is the person who brought us The Nightmare Before Christmas, and you're getting everything that you love about The Nightmare Before Christmas, the art style of it, the creepiness, the great voice work. It's all back here in Coraline as well, too, without the Tim Burton mess hanging over that. Sorry, I'm just not a fan. I'm just not that big of a fan, y'all. I'm just gonna be real about that. This movie creeped me the hell out. I never read the book as a kid. And I know, like, it only came out, I think, in 2000, 2001, something like that now, so it's not necessarily that old, but I never got a chance to read the books. I didn't know much about it walking into it, and I made the assumption when it was originally out that it was a Tim Burton film, because back in that time, I very much thought that The Nightmare Before Christmas was just him. Smarter, I'm older, a little wiser at this point, and I know that Henry Selick, the guy who also brought us Wendell and Wild, another great film on Netflix for you to check out, is the person behind Coraline. Y'all, go and see it. It will creep you out, but it's also a really great family tale for you as well. You can check that one out right now over on Tubi, folks, along with Fright Night. So that's going to do it here for another week of spooky streaming suggestions. Have you checked out anything that I've suggested in the past? What do you think of the ones I'm giving you suggestions on here tonight? Let me know in the comment section for a chance to win an Abigail Funko Pop as well. My first suggestion for you was Jason Takes Manhattan. Do you have a cheesy horror film that you like to bust out every Halloween season? Same thing. Tell me that in the comment section too. Chance to win a Funko Pop. But folks, that's going to do it for me here tonight. I appreciate you tuning in. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.
Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.